Parenting is when the transform properties of one layer affect the transform properties of another layer. Expressions, on the other hand, are when we can control the parameters of a layer or an effect using code. Expressions can get very complex and can intimidate even the most experienced After Effects user. However, in this chapter, I hope to introduce you to the basics of expressions so that you can start a long and happy relationship with expressions in After Effects. Let's talk a little bit about parenting. Parenting is when the transform changes of one layer affect another layer. Let's see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and create a new composition, and I'll just call it parenting. And I'm going to create two solids, a green one and maybe a yellow one. And there you go. I'll make each one of them a little bit smaller. And I'll position them side to side right here. Now, let's look at the parent column right here in the timeline. In After Effects, you tell the layer what the parent is and not the other way around. So, I'm going to tell yellow, hey, green is your parent. I can do so by clicking and dragging on the pick whip, which is that little swirly line. And if I click and drag on that little swirly line, I can indicate which one of the layers I want to be the parent of the selected layer. In this case, green will be the parent of yellow. I also could have chosen the layer by going to this drop-down menu. Now, any transform changes that I do to green will affect yellow. So, let's see how it works. I'll expand the layer, I'll expand transform. Let me make this a little bit taller. Anchor point, check, is affecting both. Position, yep, check, is affecting both. Scale, yep, you got it. Rotation. Notice how all of these changings are occurring from the point of view of the anchor point of the parent layer. Opacity, however, is the only one of the transform changes that is not affected by parenting. Now, I can animate the rotation of the parent. I'll make it go around twice, which of course will affect the child layer. But at the same time, I can change the rotation of the child layer. And I'll make it go around twice as well. And now the child layer is going to be not only rotating around the anchor point of green, but also around its own anchor point. As you can see, parenting can become very, very advantageous for many things. To make many layers do the same thing, for example. But there's a couple of caveats. Let's go ahead and create two new layers. I'll delete these. And I'll create two solids. Control or Command Y is the shortcut. And a yellow and a green one are fine as well. This time, I'm going to make one of them thin and tall, and the other one wide and short. I'll make them a little bit smaller. And there you go. I'll zoom in a little bit. I'm going to tell to green, hey, your parent is yellow. And now anything that I do to yellow will affect green. And let me go to rotation, and there you go. No problem. But this is where the problem arises. If I start rotating the green solid on its own axis, because of the changes in proportion on width and height, this particular layer is going to start skewing. There is a way that we have to minimize and in most cases to completely get rid of this problem, and that is by the use of a null object. A null object is a layer of nothingness. It's like a placeholder. Let's go ahead and create one. Layer, New, Null Object. And basically, I'm going to tell green, hey, your parent is the null, and the null, hey, your parent is the yellow. So, when it comes to parenting, what we're doing is we're creating a little sandwich there with the null object. And now, if I change the rotation of yellow, green comes with, and if I rotate the green, it does not skew as much. The use of null objects for parenting is very useful because you can make many layers do the same thing. For example, I'm going to go ahead and unparent them. None and none. And I will reset all of these. I can select them all, right-click, go to Transform, Reset, and they go back to the originals. I'll press S for scale and make these smaller. There you go. And maybe I'll duplicate them so we can have a couple more. Say this one and this one. I can make all of these layers rotate around the same axis by parenting them all to the null. So I'll select all of these solids and I'll parent all of them to the null object. All I have to do now is rotate the null object and all of the other layers will come along. And as we saw before, we can have all of the layers rotating around their own axis.